Long ago, a young girl went with her mother to pick berries for her father, who was hard at work.
Hey guys, it's Evergreen, and today I'm going to be reviewing Resident Evil Village. So let's get into it. Capcom. They've been on a series of winning streaks ever since the release of Resident Evil 7, with great remasters like Resident Evil 2 and 3 coming out about a year apart. However, one feeling more satisfying than the other. Anyways, I never really finished Resident Evil 7, so I can't compare it to Resident Evil 8. But this game was one that I had a lot of feelings about, so without further delay, let's get into it. The story. This game takes place right after the events of Resident Evil 7, with Ethan Winters and his family just trying to live life. However, Ethan can't just move past all the crazy things that he and Mia went through when they were at the Baker house. The game doesn't play around. Chris Redfield caps Mia and then abducts Ethan and his baby Rose. Shortly after that, their convoy is disrupted and Ethan is the only one left alive. He is left to wander the forest to find answers. When he wanders into a small village, seemingly stuck in the past, with the castle and people looking like the pilgrims, basically. Anyways, the first section is based solely in the village where you fight werewolf fucks. And honestly, they're a better change than the mold because I never felt too overwhelmed playing this game. After finding some puzzle pieces, you make your way into the castle where you're introduced to Mother Miranda and her children, and your first challenge for survival. You survive, of course, and then you are put into a nightmare where you're stuck in Lady Demetrice's house and with her 3 daughters. Your goal remains the same: find Rose and get her out. You end up having to kill the daughters and the robust lady herself. However, honestly, this area is the biggest section of the game, being the focal point after finding a jar that sparks the need for exploration. Because let's be honest, this game wouldn't be fun without a twist. You end up having to fight a doll. Honestly, that shit was sketch because you're in a dungeon and basically have to fight and play hide and seek. You then need to fight this mutated fish thing that is seen as a joke by the group, and the battle was pretty hard due to the lack of area. The next biggest section being the factory doesn't hold any punches, where we learn about the fracture in the family and the twist that I didn't really see coming. Anyways, you basically fight mutated Terminators, and that leads to some jump scares and a huge mech fight that ends the revelation on Ethan and the Baker house. And you play as Chris, shred through some werewolves, and honestly makes you feel like a complete badass. Ethan fights and defeats Mother Miranda and saves Rose, ending the game. I left out a lot of key moments to avoid spoilers that I personally loved and felt emotional from, because personally I think you should experience that all for yourself. Let's talk about the gameplay. If you've played the recent Resident Evil games, there's not a whole lot of new developments here as far as gameplay goes, but they did include many more enemy types compared to the mold in Resident Evil 7, and the newest gameplay mechanic being Duke, who offers you the ability to sell and buy loot and tools, but it's basically like the merchant from Resident Evil 4, so that's a plus. However, all weapons can be found in the regular playthrough. You just need to be looking around. The combat felt more refined compared to the combat in Resident Evil 7, and you can now kind of hunt to give Ethan permanent boosts. I did learn the hard way that you can definitely sell your meat, but you probably shouldn't, and I highly recommend you don't, because you will need that to get boosts. The gameplay was fun and refreshing because the game throws so many enemies at you that at first seems so hard, but as you go through, you become more lethal. Alright, let's talk about the characters now. The characters this game develops felt all unique, from the villagers to the big bads. I felt each one had a personality that highlighted them. My favorite characters being Ethan, Lady Demetrice, and Heisenberg. Ethan felt like a guy who, no matter what shit he went through, his main goal stayed the same: to save Rose. And that's all that mattered. He felt fully developed as a father. I felt like they went all out on his journey, and the plot twist that he went through made him that much more interesting as a character. Now we have Lady Demetrice, who felt like a vampire that just wanted to make Mother Miranda proud, but her daughters were her priority. I felt like she was a character that could have been more utilized, and the trailers definitely made her out to be like the Baker's family, and I kind of felt slightly cheated in that sense, because she wasn't as big of a character as the Baker family. Heisenberg was the character I really enjoyed seeing develop. He gave off this Dante from Devil May Cry vibe, and I honestly was really looking forward to my encounters with him due to the way that he was more human than the rest of them. Then we got Salvador More. Definitely know I mispronounced that, but fuck it. I felt like very weird to say the least, and I kind of felt uncomfortable, almost a type of pity for this ugly fuck. This character was basically doomed from the start, and they all knew it, but it still tried. So I kind of felt bad for him, or her, whatever. Now we have Donna Benevito, who was basically the one who made this an actual horror game. I felt helpless throughout the whole chapter with her, and I'm really glad that they made the doll the scariest part of the game. And the backstory to this one, I personally enjoyed finding like scraps for her, because like the backstory was my favorite part about Donna. The Duke was the one that I don't really know how to feel about, because I felt like it was extremely neutral between him and everybody, and that might have put Ethan at risk a little bit. However, each encounter with him was an enjoyable one. The cons. My biggest problem with Resident Evil games is the time to completion. Like, I really enjoy these games, and I don't want to be done in a matter of 5 hours. Like, I want the story to take me 15 to 25 hours, like any other fully flushed games. Some people may see it as efficiency, but I just like more bang for my buck. Also, I feel like the thing I really don't like is the lack of ammo in some parts of the game. Like, I want to mow down enemies and not be afraid that it'll be my last shot. Like, during the final boss fight, I had like 1 bullet by the end, and I was so worried that I'd get stuck in a spot where I wasn't able to finish the game, basically, unless I went after it with my knife, which is always a possibility, because you do still have that. Other than that, I don't really have a lot to complain about. Actually, the ending kind of being BS that it struck at my heart, but whatever. So, in summary, Resident Evil 8 was a great game. I really enjoyed the playthrough, but I can't see myself playing through it again anytime soon, just because there really isn't an incentive to do so. The world and story were a great mixture of action and horror, leaving my instincts of fight or flight satisfied. If you're able to find this game on deep sale, I highly recommend picking it up. But if you're not a huge Resident Evil fan and it's full price, or even like $40, you have to decide if $40 can justify an 8 to 10 hour game at most. For me, I wouldn't pay that much, so all in all, I have to give the gameplay a 3 busty vampire ladies out of 5 creepy dolls, and the story 4 mystery jars out of 5 werewolves. So overall, it's a thumbs up out of a yawn. So if you like my reviews, just leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what other games you're looking to get an idea of whether or not it's worth a purchase. And if I have it, I'll look into it. If I don't have it, I'll look into it. So anyways, as always, peace, love, homies.